there, entrepreneurs, dream makers, and small business titans. I'm Chip Schweiger, and welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur's Accountant Podcast, where you get tips and tricks that can help you level up your company to build value and create a business that goes from 7 figures to 8 and from 8 figures to 9. I'm a CPA in public practice who has worked with some of the largest companies in America, but my other passion is in helping entrepreneurs and business owners like you, because you truly are the crown jewel of our economy. And today, I want to talk about the 5 finance basics every entrepreneur needs to know. But before I move on, be sure to sign up for email updates at my website, www.schweigercpa.com, to get exclusive content and tips that allow you to grow your business while enjoying the lifestyle you're entitled to. That's www.schweigercpa.com. So back to the show. So this week, let's talk about something really interesting for entrepreneurs and business owners. The 5 things about finance every entrepreneur needs to know. But first, let's set the table for a minute. One thing you know is that as an entrepreneur, you have to get comfortable with the possibility of failure and then your ability to bounce back. In a lot of situations, there's just no other way around it. Of course, there are tons of reasons why a business venture doesn't succeed. In fact, there's probably more ways that it can fail than ways it can succeed. And I'm just being honest with you. Maybe there just isn't a market for your product or service. Perhaps you didn't assemble the right team, or maybe you just didn't understand the financial basics. Nearly every entrepreneur has had their share of failures. So a quick story. I have a friend, a really smart, hardworking guy who was making a ton of money when he first started his company out. They got new clients and some fairly big ones. But then they lost their biggest client, and this was a huge blow to the company. They just staffed up with new developers in the prior few weeks in anticipation of growth, and now they didn't even have enough money to meet payroll. Horrifying circumstances. But you know what? The experience taught him a lot of great lessons about finances. So to make sure your startup succeeds, I've compiled 5 financial lessons from entrepreneurs like you who have failed, yes, but they've learned from those failures. And I'm sharing these experiences with you. So number 1, don't be concerned with outside investments at first. You know, whenever we hear words like entrepreneur and startup, we immediately associate them with funding and investments and the need for funds. And in my way of thinking though, and in the experience of successful entrepreneurs, seeking out investments in the early stages of your venture really is a waste of your time and energy. And here's why. There is virtually no investor that will invest in a business until you can prove that it's got commercial appeal. And how do you prove commercial appeal? Revenues, paying customers, and profit margin. Plus, think about it. The time it takes for you to research and apply for credit is valuable time you need to get your venture going and stable. So at least at first, you're better off bootstrapping. Apply for credit or seek investments if and when you scale your operations into a much larger business, but start with bootstrapping. So your takeaway here is focus on getting the business up and running and cash flowing and stable, and then search for capital to level up your business. Number 2, there's a difference between debt and equity financing. First, the facts. Most of the companies that get outside financing obtain debt, not equity. But what's the difference between the two of them? Well, debt financing means secured loans that have been obtained by a bank or financial institution and are usually paid back in monthly installments. And there are some major benefits here. The bank has no input in your business, interest is tax deductible, and you know the principal and interest figures in advance, so you can budget accordingly. But you do have to pay the money back in a specified amount of time, which can be an issue if you run into cash flow problems. And if you can't pay the money back, you're going to run into some real serious issues. Equity, on the other hand, means raising capital through selling shares of your business to investors. Now, this can mean more cash on hand and can be a boost to your credibility. That said, it takes a lot of time and effort, and you're giving away some ownership and some decision-making power to your new investors. And if you ever do want to cash out and take your chips off the table and go sit on the beach someplace, the more of your business you've given away, the less there is for you. So takeaway number 2, understand the pros and cons of each financing option available to you and align them with the goals for your business and your monetization event in the future. Now, only you can decide what's right for you, but thinking about them in advance pays dividends later. Number 3, borrow only the money you need. So an admission here, after I just got done telling you about debt and equity, they're not your only options. Entrepreneurs, in fact, have an unlimited amount of funding sources to choose from nowadays. Whether it's borrowing money from a bank or family members, bootstrapping, finding investors, or even crowdfunding to get your product launched, the money you need is out there. I promise you, for good ideas that have commercial appeal, the money is out there. But hear me on this next point. Don't get greedy. So takeaway number 3, instead of raising or borrowing an excessive amount of money, only look for funding when you really need it. There's no reason to incur interest or give away some of your company if you don't need to. Now, there are a ton of resources out there that can assist you in figuring out exactly how much it will take to start your business, and there are links to some of them on my website. One other thing, a solid budget is absolutely essential for every business owner because it helps manage your costs and keeps your expenses in line. In starting a business, I typically suggest having 6 months of living expenses set aside, as well as 6 months of operating expenses set aside. Yeah, you can do it with less, but the 6x6 rule works for most businesses to get them started. Number 5, calculate the cost to acquire a customer. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, and let's be honest, who hasn't, you quickly realize that you really need to know your numbers. You should be able to tell an investor exactly what it costs to acquire a customer and how much that customer is worth to you in the long run and exactly what your profit margins are. I've helped a number of entrepreneurs over the years with their investor pitches, and I'm telling you, every investor will ask for those numbers. And if you don't know them, they're going to immediately tune out the rest of your presentation. That's just the facts. So your last takeaway for today is this. It's on you to prove to investors that you know how to make a profit and that them pumping $5 or $10 million into your business will make them money in the long run. Lenders want interest, but investors want return. They want beta. So be financially prepared for anything and plan ahead. You never know what's going to happen next, but if you understand your financials, you can make informed decisions when you need to, and you can articulate those decisions to potential investors. So that's all for this week, and I'm truly honored that you've chosen to invest your time with me. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, please consider subscribing to this podcast so that you'll never miss a future episode. It's easy to do by just clicking on the subscribe button. And with that, we'll see you down the road.